Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Welcome to STAMPtember Day 10, 2025. Today we're focusing on the Altenew limited edition exclusive called Joyful Bouquet. I created a beautiful, happy, bright, I would call it more of an autumnal bouquet rather than maybe joyful holiday-ish, but I really feel like these sentiments in this, and I don't necessarily think joyful meant holiday. That's just where my mind goes with that name, but it's a very great everyday floral stamp set. Beautiful florals like what Altenew is known for. We're going to create a gorgeous card focusing on the florals and then have some fun with adding some texture and layering in the background, and finally adding multiple sentiments on our card, something I absolutely love to do. Today I stamped and embossed our large floral sentiment on some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock using clear embossing ink and white embossing powder. I really wanted to use cream, however I was going to use white for my background, so I felt like white would work a lot better in this instance. And I am coloring in with my beautiful Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils. Pardon me, say that 5 times fast. And we're doing a nice blended job. So most, I think everywhere actually, I'm only using about 2 shades of Distress pencils per image. So we're doing all of our leaves in the same color combo. Then we're going to do our florals, each in a different color combo as well. Now, I think for the smoothest application, I like to finish with water. You're not going to see me actually do that until a little bit later, because sometimes I like to tell myself, no, you don't have to add the water. This looks good as is. And it really does. I will say it would have been fine this way, but I do think adding the water smooths out some of those harsher lines and also fills in the areas. I had intended to use water all along, but you know, sometimes we like to tell ourselves some little shortcuts are going to work out. But I'm very happy that I did go ahead and take a water brush pen with just filled with a little bit of water. And I did a light application of water over the whole thing just to, like I said, smooth out some of those harsher lines and finish it off beautifully. Now, I did all of my greenery first. I like to lay down the darker color, and then I like to blend out with the lighter. It's very similar to how I create with Olo markers. I'm basically doing the same thing here. You can also build up the color really beautifully if you want to. Lots of great ways to color in these gorgeous images. As mentioned, I wanted to go with kind of some bold color because the majority of our card is very neutral. I almost started coloring in one of the petals with my scattered straw, and I was like, I think I want to keep that for the flower centers for this card. You might be seeing something later on this month that features more yellows, just saying. And I am then going to do like a bold mulberry purpley flower, a red flower, and an orange flower. And again, we're just going to build up that color. Now, something that I want to recommend, if you like coloring with the Distress pencils like I do, something to have on hand is a pencil sharpener. I specifically like the Prismacolor pencil sharpener. I have it here. You'll notice I've torn away the paper up near the top so that I can get a sharper tip for my pencils. I like having a nice sharp tip on my pencils, not a dull one. And you want to pull that paper away and learn from me. Again, another lazy thing I've done in the past was I did not peel away the paper before sharpening it, and my pencil sharpener did not like that. The other thing I want to note, these are a much smoother, softer, that's what I'm looking for, pencil than you might be used to. don't grip your pencil too tight. I have broke multiple pencils in the past, and I've learned to not use quite as heavy of a hand when coloring with them. I have a tendency to grip kind of tight, so if you don't grip tight, you're probably going to be fine. But if you grip tight, I would recommend trying not to with these, because I think they kind of snap easily if you are pressing too hard. I don't think they snap easily, but if you press too hard or hold them too hard, too tight, they will. Next, I'm doing my red coloring. I don't know about you guys. I talk about this in quite a few videos. Red for me is one of those things that instantly just makes a card pop. All of the colors that we're adding here are going to be beautiful, in your face, really the showstopper of this card. The floral arrangement for this card is what we're focusing on. Everything else is just gravy. It is just the things that support what else we're doing. If you follow me and you've been here a while, you know that I'm somebody who likes something going on in the background, but I don't want it competing with whatever the focal point is, whether it's a beautiful floral like today, or it's a image or a scene or even a sentiment. I want that background to be complementing. And in this case, we are going to create a very soft tone on tone complementary design on top of our craft cardstock. The other thing I want to talk about here is stamping and coloring on craft cardstock. It is one of my all-time favorite looks, favorite techniques, because I think it gives us a little bit more of a kind of quote unquote slight rustic feel. And there hasn't been a time that I have not loved a craft background. The other great thing about having your background be the same color as what you've colored your main image and die cut your image from is that those edges are going to kind of blend into your background, which I love. Now, what I will say that the dies this year are cutting nice and close to our images. Thank you so much, Simon Says Stamp. And all untabbed dies, another great thing because these dies are pretty tiny with all those sentiments. Next, I have one of my favorite stencils from Simon Says Stamp called Tintile, and I am pouncing on with a pouncer and white pigment ink through that stencil and creating this beautiful, very imperfect background. You'll notice I didn't go to the edges pretty much anywhere on that. Next, this comes the layering part. We're going to ink up our friendship text background with white pigment ink, same ink that we used to pounce on the stencil design, and we're just going to press our background right into that. So we have our white pigment ink and then our white text right over the top. The text where the solid portions of the Tintile are going to be a little bit lighter, but it's going to give a very beautiful subtle effect. We're popping up our floral with foam adhesive here. Look how good that looks. And here is where I was looking at my floral. And before I get too excited and finish with my card, let's go ahead and color each of these images or petals, pardon me, and leaves in with a little water brush pen. It's going to soften. It's going to just give us a beautiful finished effect that I think you're really going to love. I like to try to keep as little bit of water coming out of this as possible. If you want to control the amount of water even more, maybe a small paintbrush dipped in water would be a good option for that. But I think it's just going to smooth out any of those harsh lines. The embossed area is going to help hold the color inside of that line, and you won't really find it moving outside. I did try to keep away, so if I just did the purple flower, I'm not going to do the greenery right next to it, for example. I'm going to move to another area to blend that out. I'm cleaning the tip of my water brush pen off on a microfiber cloth periodically to keep that nice and clean, and then just kind of moving my way throughout the image. We are going to stamp and emboss multiple greetings from the stamp set on some of that Nina Desert Storm cardstock. I did do that part off camera. Our sentiments today are going to read, hello, so grateful to have you in my life, and sending you a little sunshine. I like when sentiments kind of move throughout the design. We're also going to take some white splatter from Simon Says Stamp, and I've got my plastic spatter box here, and we are going to spatter up our background. This is, again, another tone-on-tone white. It's going to be very subtle. It's going to kind of more when you hold your card at an angle, you'll see little bits and bobs. There's some bigger spatter on some of the florals, but just a very subtle kind of spattering of distress. I didn't want it to be overwhelming. I've got foam adhesive on the back of my sentiments, and they're going to kind of move throughout. I do need to remove some of my foam adhesive that I put on the back of my Sending You a Little Sunshine, just about halfway, because it's going to overlap the leaf. This does leave us a bigger space down underneath our card, and I was looking for a way to add a little something to this, and I think it's going to leave us a perfect spot to wrap a little twine around and tie it into a bow to finish off our card design. We're also going to take some metallic gems from Simon Says Stamp and scatter those throughout for a little extra touch of sparkle. Super, super simple. So first up, I've got the Lawn Fawn twine. Any color, but I did opt to go more for that tone-on-tone with the brown neutral shade. The May Arts twine would be a good option as well. And then we're just going to tie that into a little knot, or pardon me, not a knot, into a little bow. We're going to kind of pull those ends until we get our bow a little bit smaller so it's the right size and scale for our card, and then snip up the ends. To secure the twine to the card so it's not going to slide off the end, I will be putting a piece of foam adhesive underneath that bottom section so that it kind of fits in between my foam, which you'll see here in just a second. So I'm going to add some little dabs of glue. We're going to use our embellishment wand to pick up our metallic gems and pop them in place. I love that they are all different kind of shades of metallic, really soft though, nothing harsh. I definitely went for the more neutral-ish, lighter shades of metallics in this collection. Any color though that you like, the opal ones that are some of my favorites would be a good option too. Now, I was still waiting for some of the spatter to dry, so I actually took my foam adhesive and put it on my card base and then popped my panel up. And here is the finished card design. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for the Altenew STAMPtember 2025 limited edition exclusive called Joyful Bouquet. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community.